All right, we might kick off. For those who don't know me, I am Jen Thomas. I head up marketing and memberships at IAB Australia, and I'm excited to bring you our webinar today on tech and product trends in connected TV. This does come off the back of our Video Council creating the Connected TV Annex. The link to that annex will be dropped into the chat for you to have a look at, obviously after this webinar. But feel free to check that out as more of the details that we talk about today will be featured in there. We will kick off today with an update from Amit at Tech Lab, who joins us from the US. And we will then launch into our fabulous panel featuring Flaminia, James, Kath, and Mark, and led by our very own tech lead, Jonas. So please feel free to drop any questions that you might have into the Q&A, and we will try to get to them at the end. But we hope that you enjoy what we've got featured for you today across connected TV. It's a really exciting space, and I look forward to sharing more with you. Over to you, Amit.
Thank you, Jen. Let me quickly share my screen. There we go. Thank you for having me. What I plan to cover today is basically the set of the tech standards that we've been working on around CTV within the Tech Lab. And for those who are not aware, the Tech Lab, the IAB Tech Lab is well, I guess a sister organization to the IABs across the world. We are a global organization because we believe that technology really should be global and it should be independent of local flavors, and at least from a pure tech point of view, not from a policy point of view. And that's the reason why we try to involve people across the globe in terms of building up our tech standards. And while my current role is focused on all programmatic related things, but I've also in the past worked on a lot of the CTV work, the video work, and so I figured that I would kind of walk us all through some of the work we've been doing there. The first thing I'd like to kind of cover is a little bit about the terminology, the difference between CTV and OTT. And funny enough, this seems to be one of the most consumed blog posts on our website too, because of the amount of confusion that we do see on this topic. OTT, over the top, is probably the term that a lot of people use when they're talking about this space in general. This really comes from historically. It comes from the big broadcasters, if you will, talking about content that is not being delivered via the usual broadcast or set-top box or satellite TV or what have you mechanisms, and being delivered over the internet. And to them, it also included whether all kinds of devices, whether it's desktop or mobile phones or connected TV. And so what we've been trying to get a little bit more discipline around is again the use of these terms. So we recommend that when you're talking about OTT streaming, when you're talking about streaming services, I think it's okay to talk about OTT streaming services, but whoever that is from. But when we're talking about devices, we want to get a little more discipline about what we are talking about, because there are a whole different set of problems and solutions associated with with the connected TV world. Things like smart TVs, streaming devices, gaming consoles, devices that are connected to either the TVs themselves have that internet capability, or these are devices that are connecting to those TVs. So that's basically what we are limiting as connected TV, if you will. And again, I know that we do have the work that Jen just posted on the chat, but we've also had something that's a little more focused on the tech, purely on the tech side, a series of blog posts that walk through all the different tech work that we've done, the standards work that we've done. And we try to group it into these 6 areas. Privacy and data and identity is the first one. Brand safety is the second. Anti-fraud efforts is the third. And then we have the 3 things that usually kind of go hand in hand, so, delivery, measurement, and interactivity. So those are the 6 areas that we have a lot of detailed information on that blog post. So please do go visit that. And right now, I'll kind of give the high-level picture for each of those. From an identity point of view, I think probably the biggest thing that we've done, and this was released in 2018, is the definition, the guidelines for the IFA, the identifier for advertising for CTV devices. And there we try to we did keep it very simple. We modeled it after the mobile IFAs and really already existed in many of the major platforms, at least. We try to provide a little bit more formal way of looking at it. We defined the IFA itself, but we also provided guidance around passing along the IFA type and also the limit ad tracking flag along with that. Now, I should say that this predated a lot of the conversations around privacy, even like GDPR and TCF and all those things. So it isn't complete in that sense. So you should definitely look at the REAR conversations. But this is definitely picking up steam on the CTV front on various device platforms. So and has been pretty widely adopted in recent years. But like I said, Project REARC is one of the efforts at the IAB Tech Lab, primarily focused on the, I think, actually I shouldn't say focus. It started off with the third-party cookies going away and the related privacy conversations. I would say that it hasn't probably been as, I would say the CTV world has probably not been as involved in this conversation as they should be, and I really think we really need to get involved a lot more over here because you cannot really ignore the implications of privacy implications. But I did want, and so I don't have too much to talk about in this context, but I did want to make sure that everyone is aware of this. The idea of, and actually a couple of these things already do have implications on the CTV front, mainly the contextual targeting. Which actually is, from what I have seen, is already pretty popular on the video and CTV world, and so something that we should definitely talk about as it gets more and more popular on the, or more and more important on the in the rest of digital advertising as well. So that's it from the. That's all I have for now on the identity front. On the brand safety front, this slide kind of talks about our overall portfolio of things that we have done on the brand safety front. This includes a number of things like the user experience, things which you don't necessarily think about when you're thinking brand safety, but they are important. So user experience is one of the things. The open measurement ad swapping capability is not there yet. It is something that we are working on, but I figured it's worth mentioning over here. And of course, we do have some of the core capabilities within VAST and OpenRTB to provide to pass along information needed to really be able to really understand the context that you're going to be serving your ads in. But I would say the key part which is relevant to brand safety would really be the content taxonomy and the ad product taxonomy. And especially the content taxonomy, I should say. So in the 2.2 version of the content taxonomy, we introduced the concepts of brand safety floor and brand suitability. It is framed on the GARM specifications around that. And the idea really is that rather than treating brand safety as a single yes or no kind of a thing, get a little bit more nuanced around that to be able to provide different levels of suitability. So that's something that I definitely recommend taking a look at. From an anti-fraud point of view, we have ads.txt and app ads.txt. We actually released a guidance for CTV platforms in, I'd say, March or April. The main difference over there is really around the concept of inventory partners, because that's a use case that seems to be very important on the CTV space, and so it's specifically intended for CTV. But other than that, the basic mechanisms remain the same. We did provide some additional guidance around how information should be passed in OpenRDB requests and so on around that. The rest of the things really didn't change specifically for CTV. How sellers.json works, how supply chain object works, all of those are pretty remain the same as they have been, and they have been around for a little while. But of course, adoption is the key. We do need to make sure that it gets adoption there. But probably the piece that I'm most excited about is the work that we're doing on the ads.cert front, where we are working on cryptographic mechanisms to secure the communication, if you will, especially around server-side ad insertion, which seems to be the central point, for the place where a lot of the ad fraud vectors seem to be coming from. So keep an eye on that, open for that. It is still on the roadmap. I'm hoping to get it out in the next month or so, but I think that's going to be a major update that's coming up. And then on this slide, it seems like a simple slide, but actually has a lot of the work that we have done in the Tech Lab over the last few years. We try to simplify how things work in that entire video stack. In the past, it used to be vast, vpaid, and a whole bunch of custom tags. MRAID was in the mix as well when we talked about delivery, measurement, interactivity, and they all got mixed up. What we are trying to do now is to simplify that entire way of doing things, and we're managing that. VAS4 is purely for delivery should be done purely using VAS4, not mix it up with vpaid and things like that. We are trying to replace vpaid with open measurement and SIMID, and getting some discipline around that really by vpaid used to be used for a whole bunch of things, but focusing open measurement for measurement and SIMID for interactivity. And really what it all comes down, and a lot of these things were driven by CTV requirements really, right? So a huge portion, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I think about 70 to 80% at least in the US, traffic, CTV traffic is inserted on the server-side ad insertion, which basically means that if you see a vpaid package coming in, you cannot really use it because it has to be stitched into the stream, and you cannot really just throw JavaScript in there. And that is actually one of the big reasons why we release VAS4, open measurement, and SIMID. And so I should though caveat that by pointing out that open measurement is, while we have the mobile SDKs, we have the web SDKs, the CTV SDKs are still being worked on. Is something that we expect to be released later this year for a couple of the platforms. But I should say that there are some other conversations going on also around server-side ad insertion and how do you measure over there. SIMID is something that I would highly recommend people taking a look at. It is still in early days there, but it is a mechanism to build out interactive ads, which I think are going to be pretty interesting from a CTV point of view. So that's the set of things that I had. I will pass along to JJ, I think.
Hello, thank you so much. It's always lovely to see you, Amit. Thank you so much for jumping in again to one of our webinars. It's always great the amount of support you gave, and also the content that you helped helped oversee, and in the annex that we recently produced, where we've shared those links and a number of those standards and the blog posts that Amit mentioned there can be found in the further reading of that particular document. And as I bring in the other panelists and try and find the right slide, Amit, I mean, you dropped in a couple of hints in terms of what's to come. Do you have any other relevant specs or standards that we can look forward to towards the end of this year and the beginning of next that from IAB Tech Lab relevant to this space?
I'd say the most recent one, of course, was the App Ads TXT for CTV. I'd highly recommend looking at that, and it is still brand new, and we need people to adopt it for sure. But coming up, I should say the one thing that I didn't mention at all really is the content taxonomy 3.0, and that is that does have a pretty big video component to it, where we are improving it to better support video categorization. Talking about movies and televisions and the various genres of video, so that it can be described, so that the content can be described in a much better way. I mentioned open measurement for CTV, so I think we're good there. And the other one that I didn't mention is OpenRTB 2.6. It is 2.6 is a catch-up kind of release for OpenRTB for the most part. We're kind of acknowledging the fact that there have been a whole bunch of other priorities, and so we're not seeing as much adoption of OpenRTB 3.0, but it does actually include a bunch of video-related, CTV-related updates as well, improving ad podding support, passing information around the channels and network and so on. So that's the other one that I'd recommend keeping an eye on. And both the content taxonomy and the OpenRTB 2.6 I expect to be released in a few weeks, actually, and hopefully September or October at the latest.
Fantastic. We'll look out for that. Thank you, and we'll push out information on that. Now, if the rest of the panelists can please jump in, be good to see you all, and welcome. So we have a good representative group here with Mark from Xandr, Kath from Nine, James from Magnite, and Flaminia from Matterkind. And we're going to start with you, actually, Flaminia, because from a buyer's perspective, how important has CTV now become for brands being able to safely access high-quality audiences in such highly desired environments?
Hi all. I mean, it's hugely important, particularly in this day and age. The pandemic has massively increased the amount of online video people consume and has fast-tracked the growth of connected TV ownership as well. So now that essentially the lounge room, which used to be the domain of linear TV and appointment viewing, offers consuming additional options like subscription video on demand and BVOD or gaming. It also enhances engagement of the same consumer because all of that content is viewed on demand. So I think this is a crucial space for brands to own now more than ever. And also what we saw through the ability to report on co-viewing is a proof of this, because we know that half of CTV's watching is done with more than one person at the same time, which instantly extends your CTV reach and brings down your cost per reach. And this is mostly across premium and brand safe content, such as BVOD, for example, which is mostly accessed through connected TV devices. So right now, CTV in most households is slowly becoming the big screen of the house. And by accessing programmatically as well, we can also give brands the opportunity to reach their high-value audiences across premium content and premium ad experiences. We're also seeing so much innovation in this space from the broadcasters this year, which is also going to enhance further capabilities for CTV in this space. Thinking what we can do with premium post formats or the insertion of QR codes, which is giving us the chance to start measuring performance on CTV, which is massive. So I think it definitely needs to be part of any screen strategy.
Yeah, no, thank you. I mean, this has become a hot product area globally, but particularly here in Australia. I mean, our recent research, which is included in the CTV annex document, actually shows really significant growth recently in Australian audiences for this free to view ad-supported content on CTV. So Kath, you at Nine, seeing the corresponding advertising spends following suit as the eyeballs are moving towards these environments?
Yeah, good morning, everyone. I'm Kath. Yes, JJ, you're right. But we are at Nine, we're experiencing growth in both CTV audiences and also revenue. And interestingly, on Monday, Think TV just released some results that BVOD revenue in the last 12 months to 30 June rose a massive 63% year on year. So that's huge growth there. I probably won't reveal what Nine's performance is because I don't want to steal Mike Sneezeby's thunder. So you'll have to tune into next Thursday's annual results for that. But I can really comfortably say that it has been growing faster than the audience growth that was reported in that annex report, which I think was about 16% in CTV consumption year on year. But I will just cover off a little bit more on the audience perspective at Nine. And we don't actually split out our revenue by device, but I can share that since 2020 in April, CTV consumption now represents more than half of our 9 Now streams every single month, which coincided with the pandemic. So I guess when Aussies really started to embrace their streaming options and also upgrading their TVs, we saw the real shift to CTV. And look, those streams can really fluctuate some months, which is determined by our programming mix. So think of Lego Masters. Families really want to watch Andy Lee and Brickman together as a united front on the couch for a really big screen experience. And 83% of 9 Now streams for the series this year were all done via connected TV. And then you can compare it to other times of the year where we host our 9 Now exclusives, such as the Love Island UK. And when you think of that, that's really been consumed a little bit more as a personalised experience. And then we see some peaks in mobile and desktop streams. But to go back to, I guess, the core of your question, JJ, around revenue. So some areas that we're really seeing some new and strong growth over the last 12 months is through our premium CTV ad units. So we have the intermission, which is Nine's pause ad. We've got the premium slate ad, which is this big 37-second pre-roll that leverages our 9 IP and runs before a show, and we're also starting to trial a little bit of QR coding as well. We've got our data targeting revenue has grown exponentially year on year, so not for just age and gender, but also using our 9 tribes from our first party data, also our partners such as Equifax and Flybuys. So I guess brands are really finding the ability to target an audience on target, I guess, and also at the right time in the purchase funnel is pretty compelling to them. And we're seeing also just a lot of new brands come to BVOD, as it's a lot more of an affordable entry point than doing a big broadcast partnership. And I know Jordan King would kill me if I didn't say that we've got a lot of growth across programmatic. So I think on average about 70% of our 9 Now inventory is being booked through automation. So a lot of really healthy growth for 9 across CTV.
Yeah, no, thank you. And we've got the expenditure report, the next report on that out next week. So look out for that in terms of the growth numbers. And it feels as if the market's been picking up nicely throughout the year, really gaining momentum. And from a vendor perspective, Mark, I mean, we heard some sort of product insights there from Kath. What are you seeing in terms of interesting innovation or product development as a specialist vendor? What do you see in that space that's particularly interesting to you?
Yeah, I think Flam and Kath have both done a really good job there, and just talking about some of the advancements on the broadcaster side. Just to add to that, I would also, if I may, Kath, just say that Nine's done a really good job on the content mapping side as well. So I think 2 areas where buyers can really look forward to innovation in the CTV space and improving the CTV offering is content metadata mapping. So mapping the MRSS feed and the metadata associated with a piece of content, and then passing some of that information through on a bid stream through to a buyer to give buyers more meaningful targeting opportunities in the programmatic space. So Nine, the other broadcasters are all participating in this. This is something which is available and becoming more available via certain SSPs. And on the DSP side as well, having the ability to target at a genre level is important. Having the ability to delineate between live and VOD, for example, is another big one, as Flaminia touched on. Gaming is increasing. Lots of live opportunities are increasing. So having a different buying strategy for those different types of content, I think, is quite important as well, right? You're not going to have a frequency cap of, 4 per day if it's a live event and it's mass reach and it's a fantastic branding opportunity. So those content opportunities and that content metadata tagging is really important. The second thing that we included in the CTV annex is information on video header bidding. Now, it may not sound like the sexiest topic, and it may just sound like, something technical or a display thing that you've heard about in the past, and it's typically known for its yield optimization capabilities. But what video header bidding can do for CTV is really improve the user experience. So what we've worked out is that by shifting the auction ahead of an ad server and collating all bids from programmatic demand sources, what you can do is actually push through to the ad server brand information, category information, so that the ad server can make better informed decisions around what ads should be placed in what ad break. And so if you're a buyer, that means that you can rest easy knowing that your brand's not going to appear next to the same creative in an ad break, which we've all seen before, so back-to-back ads. The other thing it does is give broadcasters the ability to separate out categories, right? So making sure that KFC and McDonald's don't appear in the same ad break is one example of category level exclusions. And also, if you're a buyer, you should be quite excited about programmatic maturing in this space, right? The waterfall has served us well for a long time, but programmatic now makes up the brunt of revenue for CTV compared to the direct business. And that's nothing to be scared of, right? We're seeing a lot of these sort of direct type buys in programmatic. And so video header bidding, I think, really is just starting to signal to the market that, programmatic is really maturing in a big way. It's allowing, video header bidding will allow buyers better access to the audiences and imagery that they care about, and improve user experience across the board for BVOD, which I think is a fantastic opportunity and gets us that little bit closer to providing that, seamless lean back experience that TV provides. And look, I think we're really close to providing that already.
Thank you, Mark. Yeah, I mean, that's hence the reason and the importance of the standards as mentioned there by Amit, as things do democratize, ensuring that the environments can stay premium and everything's working as they need to. So that's an area that we'll keep seeing Tech Lab roll out standards on. And, we've heard a couple of panelists, Kath and Mark, talking particularly around content there, James, and with your relationship, Magnite, with Seven, in terms of an event, a live event, unique content, the Olympics recently, the delivery of that, the content was quite extraordinary, really. So do you have some insights there in terms of your experience in partnering over that amazing fortnight recently?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to be fair to live sports has been a major part of what we've been doing across all of our broadcast partners. So we've worked with Nine across the state of origin. We've worked with Optus Sports across the EPL, and KO across their range of different sporting codes. So we've been doing this for quite some time, and Seven has been a partner with us for a really long time. We've worked on the Beijing Olympics, and we worked on Commonwealth Games and all sorts. So we've had a long road to tweak the pipes and get it working really well. And some of the things we've found, especially with the most recent Olympic events, was that people are leaning in really hard on digital streaming of live, and they're having 46 different channels to stream all of their different sporting codes across the Olympics for 2 weeks, allowed for some real interesting insights to pull from that. And seeing that, the audience and how they sort of negotiated their way through all of these different sports and trying to find what they wanted to watch quickly and efficiently created a really exciting ad opportunity for buyers to see, okay, well, we can string together people who are watching various different sporting codes and tap into that style of approach. And then the amount of data that pulls off the back of that to give a bit of an insight into the audience and how that maps back to a brand to say your brand is getting exposed to people who are interested in X, Y, and Z sporting codes. But when you're looking at the technical side of live is a different beast to VOD. VOD, video on demand, you have people come in and watch when they want to watch, and the ad calls come at various different times throughout that period, and you won't have suddenly a million people all hit an ad break at the same time like you do in live. So managing that is extremely difficult from a technical point of view, because you suddenly have a million requests that you need to then manage downstream to all of the buying partners to then look at getting responses and packaging it up correctly and sending it back to the ad server to then stitch into the content and play. Again, working with the ad insertion technology partners, the likes of YoSpace and others who manage those live events, getting the response times as quick as possible, looking at how we sort of compress the response in, we have a vast unwrapping tool, which just allows for us to like unpackage the wrappers that come with a response and then stitch it back in for YoSpace to then make it much faster. We see massive increases in monetization and better ad experiences off the back of that. So yeah, look, I mean, we find that it's been an absolute journey for the last couple of years in live sports, and it is a very, very different world. You have connected television, which really is your VOD and your live, and live and VOD are treated so differently because they're very technically different and complex.
Yeah, fascinating intersection really between linear, telly, everything one's used to there in terms of these events, and then digital and the benefits that come of it. It's fascinating. You want to jump in there, Mr. Shetty?
Yeah, I thought I'll add a couple of things that came up in the working group conversations when we were talking about live, and totally agree with James that it is a whole different beast, and the scale itself is so huge. There are a couple of things which I think which we've added with VAS4, which I think would be useful. I don't know the adoption rate on these things yet, but one of the things is the concept of the universal ad ID. We try to, one of the there are a number of use cases for it, but one of those is the idea that you can, take that and the mezzanine file, and now you can cache download the mezzanine file and transcode it and have it ready for delivery upfront. So that is one of the key things that we added there. And the other one is which is I think less known is the concept of an expires field. So this is something that came in from the audio world, and we added it to better support the whole idea of adding an expiry period to the ad, so that you can say, okay, I'm going to cache this ad request, and it's okay for me to hold it for X period of time, rather than expecting a real time response and all that. So something that we believe will help with campaign management over the longer term better. So just thought I'll mention that as well.
Yeah, thank you. Look, I think we need to pull in some of those updates towards the end of this calendar year or the beginning of next. Do another session on it. We'll do another annex, team. How about that? Mm-hmm. So look, on content, Kathy, you mentioned Lego Masters, which is one of my secret loves, no longer secret. Something me and my son enjoy together. I mean, what other, and with Amit there talking about IDs, as you look to gather IDs and have that open value exchange with consumers, what other sort of content or strategies are you deploying at Nine in order to achieve that?
Yeah, sure. I can talk through that. Look, live appointment viewing is becoming a real trend holistically across all of Nine now. And I know we've talked about sport, so I'll just kind of cover off sport a little bit more. And it is critical to our strategy. Even though we already currently have 10 million Nine user IDs, the AO this year was still able to attract 135,000 new Nine Now signups this year alone. So we still haven't peaked out there, which is great. But you're absolutely spot on. It's also across entertainment and our lifestyle tentpole programs, and you'll see this being a real key strategy for Nine in the next year. I mean, we've had Beauty and the Geek, which also performed really well in live viewing, and we're really seeing it like at the moment with The Block, my favourite show, being a current renovator, with live viewing, which is up, I think it's 56% year on year, and we're only 1 week into the series. So that co-viewing with your partner is really important for live viewing, that we're finding, and really having that water cooler moment, so you're actually consuming it while it's happening. But I guess having such a wide range of entertainment and sport is really important for us to attract that consistent big audience scale, to overlay with our first party data, so to really create that platform so brands can plan and buy on people-based marketing. And what we've been seeing in our conversations with marketers over the last 12, 18 months is that it's been becoming more and more critical for people to reduce their reliance on cookies and device IDs, particularly as we approach 2023. So back in 2016, I now started collecting the mandatory sign-ons. So I mentioned earlier that we're now reaching over 10 million IDs. Our friends at Seven, they invested in this in the Olympics, and SBS and 10 have been rolling it out too. So I guess where content comes back to it is that it's critical for us to have that sought after content, so users will happily log into access, whether it's for light relief, entertainment, or they want to see the latest in sport or some reality TV. But how we've been using these IDs over the last little while, we've been able to create our audience match solution at Nine, which enables brands to segment and target all their known customers. And we're seeing some really great results from that. It's really delivering strong return on investments for a variety of brands, from supermarkets through to superannuation companies as well. But what it actually does, it really enables people to properly measure with proper attribution reporting. So being able to loop back in your attribution to the signed in exposed users who were exposed to the campaign. So I guess that's where we're at the moment, and how we're trialing with people-based marketing, and how we're using IDs in line with our content to really support the overall effectiveness of the CTV environment.
Fantastic. And from that, it can only be a win for consumers, all the competitive content that you can stream on demand or live on various devices environments is fantastic. And on that point, and we're going to touch on measurement soon. I am coming back to you, Flaminia. I'm so sorry, I feel like I neglected you there. But look, James, just going back to that consumer experience, in terms of the controls and being cognizant of the consumer experience, what recommendations do you have as a vendor to ensure you get that right balance between consumers and brands in this space?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's two sides to it, and it kind of relates to what Mark was talking about before around on the publisher side. It's important publishers have a really strong tech stack that they've got sorted out correctly. So when we are looking at emerging things like header bidding, as much as I hate that name, it doesn't make sense in the CTV environment, and I know I'll get a big eye roll from Mark on that one. But to be accurate on that piece, it's around democratization of demand across all of your different demand sources, and making sure that you can get all of your advertisers getting a good chance at putting their ad in front of the right consumer. But with that comes challenges of effective frequency capping, holistically making sure back-to-backs are prevented, and the user experience is paramount. Because at the end of the day, what we're talking about is that while it's a digital environment, it's a television environment first, and we're talking about delivering a CTV, a television-like experience in a digital world. So brands and advertisers need to consider that as well from their side. So thinking about the quality of the creative that they're delivering, making sure that the audio levels are correct, making sure that the messaging is correct. Because there's been times when you get an ad that says click on the banner below, and it's just like, well, this doesn't make sense. You've just taken a digital ad and shoved it into a CTV environment. So having those considerations about the environment, that it's not just digital, it's something different, and you need to consider it as a separate path, and Flaminia touched on that too, and it's important to have that as a paramount consideration. So if the publisher have their tech stack right and they're doing everything correct on their side, and then the advertiser comes to the table with their correct assets and delivering it in the right sort of manner, then ultimately the end user gets the best experience possible, which is that TV-like experience.
Yeah, and hopefully, with all the learnings that we've had from, as we've innovated through display, via video, and now in this extremely premium environment, particularly if we're collecting data and that, that value exchange we're trying to establish, we can't make a mess of it. So that guidance is very important. And actually looking at that sort of product development side, Flaminia, and for your clients, being so active in this space that Matterkind have been, and very forward thinking, if you had a magic wand, if you some demands, requirements that you'd want for your clients over the next 12 to 18 months, we can pass them over to Annette there. What would you want to see?
Firstly, more innovation around creativity. So like I mentioned before, this year we witnessed a huge demand and success around activation of sponsorships and premium format on CTV through programmatic pipes. But this space needs to see further automation of trading and more product that facilitate that shift from direct IO to programmatic, where there is more transparency, more control, and more flexibility for the advertisers, but also far more enhanced data capabilities, which is super important. And then secondly, which is very much to what James and Mark differently have touched on, I'm hoping to see some developments around the management of direct and programmatic inventory on the supply side, which I know also this is something that the team at Magnite is also working on with their unified decisioning tool, I think. So some advertisers, like we just mentioned before, are still wary of issues with back-to-backs, which these days are mostly due to different inventory pipes not communicating with each other. So innovation from an inventory management perspective, also thinking about podding as well, which is something that Mark was mentioning before, and the ability to give added confidence to our client in this space will be a massive benefit, because I think that is literally the last barrier to really open the floodgates.
Yeah, I know. Thank you so much. And it's a good solid list. And the one area that we mentioned, Kath touched upon it a little bit with one of Nine's products that's so key is measurement, Mark. So, what considerations are there currently with regards to measurement and attribution in this space?
Oh, such a tough question, and we were joking that this is the grenade question of
We've left it to the end.
Yeah. So look, I will just start by saying that we are making progress in this space, right? I think VOZ is a really, solid initiative. It's headed in the right direction, but unfortunately, it's not extended into the programmatic realm just yet. So I'll leave VOZ there. Kath, I think, touched on it really well, and she's talking about, their Adobe Audience Match product. So there are these sort of, what we're starting to see more and more of these sort of measurement silos and matching silos. I think where we need to invest as an industry are more of an industry-wide sort of measurement tool. And then, attribution is also quite difficult to talk about without the ability to tie a user together across their purchase journey. So in display, you have a cookie. In CTV, there are no cookies. You have a device ID. And whilst we've done a really good job standardizing things like IDFAs, how you measure conversions, universal pixels that can be dropped across, display and video realm, there is still a bit of a disconnect there between those two environments. So, without the presence of this overarching measurement tool, trading groups out there such as Matterkind, such as Finecast, have gone out and developed their own kind of identity and measurement solutions that they're using internally. But look, I think one thing that this has uncovered is that we, as a video council, as the IAB members, we need to invest pretty heavily in this area and try and, come up with a plan for how we improve these two areas and, help bring some more sophisticated products to market and solutions to market.
And it's certainly going to come into focus for us as an industry body over the next few weeks, there'll be an announcement on audience measurement to the market here in Australia, and certainly the inclusion of CTV is absolutely in scope, and that's something I think we as a video council can focus on. We can have support from IAB Tech Lab on that. So good to be able to lean on you guys. And I'm going to come to you, Amit, with the last question. Before that, all attendees, please remember you're very welcome to put questions into the Q&A. If there's anything that you want us to tackle here live and direct. But Amit, with your global hat on, and I know you're liaising, and it's so good that you liaise with us here, but also across Europe. Increasingly, we're trying to do more to support the region of APAC, but certainly across what just such a huge diverse market such as the States. Have you got any future trends or insights in this particular space? Call it CTV and OTT if I'm allowed to, although I know you do make very clear technical distinction between those two. What are you seeing that could tickle our fancies here in Oz?
Oh man, that's a tricky question, mainly because we try to actually work on things that we see that they are getting picking up in importance, and I will definitely stick to the key part which I feel is top of my mind, at least, which is ad fraud. And I don't mean that as a negative thing. I think that there are so many solutions that are already in place. I think it's important to really follow through on those things, whether it's ads or text or ads or search, or actually just generally a better understanding of what kind of frauds can be perpetuated. But I don't want to leave it on a topic that seems negative. Actually, I think the thing that's most exciting to me is interactivity and the kind of things that I'm seeing people do. And this is, again, so we at the Tech Lab, we try to we believe that standards are used to really scale, right? So take something that's clearly picking up in importance and now have a path that everybody can use it in a consistent manner. But we also believe that we got to watch and help people innovate, right? And that's basically where I think interactivity is one area that I'm most interested in. I can see all kinds of ad formats coming in, simple things like just on a pause, being able to show some ads that at that point, having ads pop up in your play area, and of course shoppable ads and things like that. I think there are a whole host of things which I can see people trying out, and I'm very excited about that. Yeah,
that's great to hear. And look, I mean, on the fraud point, there's an aspect here in Australia that's interesting. We're quite lucky. There's so much high quality supply, well managed by vendors and broadcasters here with the verified humans and decent environments. But there's inevitability, we know, through technology, through democratization, that we still need to be able to protect buyers if they are starting to go and seek other types of supply. So it's not a topic we want to avoid. And in fact, the last the AdOps event that never happened in Sydney that we're still waiting on, we were going to embrace that topic and start working on it with you guys, actually. Yeah. So
and I see that as more about building confidence, right? It's not that things are
yes,
you don't have to wait for things to get bad before you protect yourselves, and just providing that confidence itself is a huge deal.
Yeah, we do have a question from Adrian regarding measurement and how we compare to what we're doing here in the space globally. That might be hard for you to answer, Amit. Maybe we need to take that offline and we can do a bit of a blog post on it. I don't know if you have any initial insights or feedback.
I cannot compare for sure. What I can say is that it's still, I think, in relatively early days. I know that in the US, there are a number of companies that have been accredited by the MRC, which is an organization here which does that. And they have been accredited for CTV traffic as well. The open measurement efforts at the Tech Lab are ongoing, coming up. So yeah, I do see that as a area that is still in early days and has to be improved. But at the same time, it's not like it's completely unknown either. There are solutions in place, and we just need to, I think, see it mature.
Yeah, well, look, rest assured, as we look forward to the next few months of development and audience measurement here in Australia, we'll be liaising with you guys on that and swapping notes accordingly. Well, look, panel, thank you so much. That's the only question I've had come through live. I don't know if there's any other topics we want to touch on. Kath, you might be interested to know that the block is being done like a few hundred meters down the road here. Actually, it's become a bit of a tourist site. There's flocks of people, although at the moment we're all supposed to be social distancing, but it's quite a popular walking route.
I'll get you through for a family and friends tour if you want, JJ.
Yeah, I should set up a sort of
if we ever
barbecue service for people to come and visit. I'll give them a tour. But thank you so much to everyone. Next 2 weeks' time, we have a e-commerce webinar, so please look out for that. The event links up on the page, and we'll share it with you along with the collateral from today and a recording which everyone will receive, and the links there for you. But look, thank you so much, panel. Thank you so much, Amit, all the way from the US there in the evening. Really appreciate that. And thank you to all the attendees. Have a great day. Stay safe and stay sane.